to our City Commission meeting tonight on this January 23rd. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start the meeting with a moment of silence before we move to Pledge of Allegiance and then roll call. So if you join me briefly for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, next that will take us to Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next, we'll have roll call.
Commissioner Perdue.
Present.
Commissioner Robbins.
Present.
Commissioner Asasi.
Present.
Commissioner Knight.
Present.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes. And next I'll have our interpreter come up. If you do need assistance tonight with interpretation services, please let us know. We're happy to be of assistance. Hi, welcome.
Oh, can you push the button?
Evelyn, can you hit the button just to, yeah, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn. I'll be here in case anybody needs an interpreter. Me llamo Evelyn, soy un intérprete. Si alguien necesita a alguien en español, por favor, me llaman. Gracias.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, it'll take us to our first opportunity for public comment. So if this is your first time to our meeting, let me walk you through the agenda a little bit. We don't have any scheduled public hearings tonight, so we'll have two opportunities for public comment. The first one will be specific to agenda items. And then if you're here to speak on anything else other than an agenda item, I'm going to ask you to stay put until I open up the next public comment period. And so a couple things. We ask if you're here to speak for you to come up to this podium, that you share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak, and you can follow this timer right here. On the first opportunity for public comment, we ask that you be explicit about what item you're speaking to. So if it was community development number 2 or cow number 4, please be clear about what item that is. And then we also ask that you take a look at the meeting procedures and expectations that are listed there on the wall. A couple things. We ask that you direct your comments to us, the elected body. We're here to listen. We're not here to answer any questions that you may have. If there is something specific that we can follow up with you on, we'll have one of our city staff follow up with you after your comments. And then also we ask that you refrain from clapping or booing or cheering. Also, we ask that you not use any derogatory language. If you do, I will go ahead and shut the microphone off. So with that, if you are here to be heard on any action item tonight or item that we spoke about earlier today, you're welcome to come forward and we'll start this public comment period. Hi.
Mayor Bliss,
Welcome.
members of the commission, city manager, my name is Dale Robertson. I represent the Grand Rapids Public Museum, 272 Pearl Street, Northwest. I'm here to comment on item number 4 under the Community Development Committee section of the consent agenda, which is a resolution awarding a professional service agreement as part of the museum expansion project bid package. And so I'd like to also say, as a city-owned entity, we have been well served and are thankful for the efforts out of the city manager's office. Tim Berkman, our lead on the project, is Kristen Fouth, and she has been phenomenal. She's fearless, which something that strikes me comes in handy in the construction business, and I have nothing but high regard and acclamation for them and the service, and so this is just another piece of that project for the museum expansion, the river portion of it, which is already under construction. So I respectfully ask your consideration and your support for that item. So thank you.
Thank you, Dale, and thanks for your leadership. All right, anyone else wish to be heard on action items?
Good evening, Mayor Bliss, Mr. Washington, commissioners, staff, police, fire chief, fellow citizens. Of course, my name is Daniel Scott, longtime resident of the city here. But more importantly, my real identity is I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. The item I'd like to address is Fiscal Committee number 2, approving these funds for Grand Rapids Community College. I disagree with any of my taxes going to any institution that continues to teach our young people lies. For instance, like evolution, God's holy word says, the Lord created the heavens and the earth. You teach children they came from animals, they will act like animals. And we see that more and more in our culture across our country. Also, the lies of there being two genders, or more than two genders. Yes. Scripture says God created man and woman in his image. So there's only two genders, man and woman. In fact, he warns us in Romans. That is why God let them go and let them do all those evil acts, so that even their women turned against God, the natural plan for them, and indulged in sex, sin with each other. And the men, instead of having a normal sex relationship with women, burned with lust for each other, men doing shameful acts with other men. And as a result, getting paid within their own souls with a penalty they so richly deserve. I object to any money going to any such institution. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close that public comment period, and that'll take us to our next item, which is approval of our minute. Oh, go ahead.
Yes,
Last comment, and then I'm going to close that public comment period.
stay all polite and stuff, and you just rush on by. I see how you. Good evening. Happy belated New Year. Lucas, First Ward. Let's talk about the evolution of our streets. I noticed that you have an amendment coming up tonight's Committee of the Whole, item 4. It regards parking prohibition for hooded meters and such. Something that I want to ask you to write into this or any similar ordinance, if it's not already there, and I admit I don't know that for sure, would be requiring parking closure permits to be displayed on the hood in large print indication of the date range of the parking closure. This would apply to any space designator as is discussed for implementation. In a growing and busy destination city, this can make a big difference. Empowering the citizen or visitor to be able to see when the parking prohibition ends will enable parking to continue before or resume after space closure. So regardless of an early placement of a hood indicator or backlogs in removal of the hood, I don't think that any rational person would believe that hoods will be carefully managed and only be on meters exactly on the permitted dates that they apply. So not posting the dates for public transparency is a recipe for accidental or purposeful abuse. Marrying the official permit to this also helps to prevent bad actors from faking it and avoiding proper permitting and payments for said closures. We've already seen how contractors play fast and loose with closing sidewalks whenever they feel like it around this town. Let's nip that in the bud on this topic and make this an example of doing it right. Maybe this is already addressed in the law somewhere. If that's the case, I couldn't find it, but please share that information. Perhaps it's addressed in a policy, and if that's all that's happening, please make it law rather than operating procedure. It's important for every citizen to be able to clearly tell if the closure of a public resource is legitimate and properly regulated. So enabling savvy downtown parkers with this information is also critical for a growing city. This is kind of thoughtful inclusion, and there'll be a difference between doing closed parking spaces almost well and doing them all the way. And this is a good tool for all stakeholders to that goal. Before I leave, I do want to shout out that you're going to hear a lot from Friends of Slow Streets tonight. I didn't leave any room in my other remarks for that, but that's very adjacent to managing parking well. And I want to express that true management of our streets is definitely the doing of that in a way that serves all. So involving parking management, protecting bike lanes, all of this working hand in hand in progressive balance. Early in my time here, I was given some excuses that were bunk about the sizes of snowplows being why we don't protect bike lanes. And I think we kind of noticed in the last week that the plowing of bike lanes is not exactly anything that's on anyone's agenda, apparently. So let's get real and let's protect these bike lanes like these folks are going to tell you a lot about later. So anyway, thank you guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, Lucas. That's good feedback. All right, now I'll close that public comment period, and that will take us to approval of our minutes, and these are minutes from January 9th. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that'll take us to petitions and communications, and we have 3 items before us tonight.
The first one is communication received from Benjamin Malloy regarding their resignation from the Public Safety Committee.
That's referred to our Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Hale Ostro regarding their resignation from the Smart Zone Local Finance Development Authority.
That is referred to our Committee on Appointments.
And communication received from Elizabeth Visser regarding their resignation from the Urban Agricultural Committee.
And that is also referred to our Committee on Appointments. All right, next up,
I just want to let you know, we did receive several communications about Bike Lanes Day, but it came in late, so they'll be added to our next agenda.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you knew that.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
First one is the Comptroller's report for the period of December 27, 2023 through January 9, 2024 in the amount of $20,452,088.57.
That is received and filed.
And finally, a Treasurer's report for the period of December 27, 2023 through January 9, 2024.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to our consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we voted on earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings where there was a unanimous vote. So tonight with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. Commissioners, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, so that will take us to, we don't have any items removed, that'll take us to ordinances to be adopted, and we have 4 ordinances before us tonight.
The first one is ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2023-15 for fiscal year 2024, Amendment Number 7.
All right,
Moved.
Support.
moved and supported. Commissioner O'Connor from our fiscal committee, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just 3 items tonight. First item is from the Community Development Department requesting to appropriate $35,000 of remaining ARPA funds to support Dagage Ministries and their Low Barrier Day Operations Center. The second item is a reimbursement for the special election that happened on November 7th for the GRPS and Forest Hills Public School millage in the amount of $165,604.65. And the final item is for our engineering department, and it's allocating another $300,000 of ARPA funds to continue our ongoing progress towards lead service line replacement for private residences. And that leaves our contingent balance remains the same at $935,000.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that'll take us to our second item tonight.
The second one is a salary ordinance for 61st District Court employees represented by the Grand Rapids Employees Independent Union.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Isasi from our Civil Service Commission, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This item is an ordinance that is just implementing the provisions of a labor agreement that was previously reached between the 61st District Court and GREIU. There was a review of these classifications, and at that time, it was noted that while the contract did go into effect, we did not move this ordinance forward. And so it follows a 3-year increase of 5%, 3%, and 2%. So this is really a cleanup administrative agenda item.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, and Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our third item tonight.
A salary ordinance for 61st District Court employees represented by the Association of Public Administrators of Grand Rapids.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Purdue, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Mayor. So this ordinance will implement the provisions of the labor agreement reached between the City of Grand Rapids and the Association of Public Administrators of Grand Rapids of the 61st District Court. In the course of reviewing new classifications requested by the 61st District Court, it was found that the salary ordinance for this contract was not brought forward at the time of ratification. More details about the percentage increase and their effective dates are in the meeting materials.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will be our last ordinance before us tonight.
It's a salary ordinance for non-represented management employees of the 61st District Court.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner Robbins, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Similar to the past two items that we just discussed, this ordinance is specific to the 61st District Court non-representative management employees. Similarly, it's a 3-year increase of 5.3 and 1%. If you have any other questions, there's information on the material online.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries. And Commissioners, can I get a motion to give it immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, that will take us to our last opportunity tonight for public comment. So if you are here to speak on any other item, you're welcome to come forward. The same rules apply. We ask that you come forward. You share your name, the city that you live in. We'll give you up to 3 minutes to speak. And we do ask that you take a look at the meeting expectations and respect those. Hi, welcome.
Can I see over this? Okay. Good evening. My name is Ariel Life-Mellis. I live in the 2nd Ward, Grand Rapids. I'm here on behalf of Friends of Slow Streets, a resident-led multimodal advocacy group. I'm here tonight to publicly introduce us and to say thank you for the progress you are making specifically on protected bike lanes and to aggressively cheer you on. Thank you for the protected bike lanes on Alger, Godfrey, Monroe, and Turner. Thank you for the planned one on Division. Protected bike lanes represent a simple but powerful shift in the way that we think about our streets. They recognize both the dignity and delight of people-centered mobility. They spark the imagination, stoke the flame of curiosity, and they invite us to experience our city in a new way. We see you building these and we thank you. Keep going. You're doing the right thing. In fact, we think that you should turn it up not 10 or 20-fold, but 100-fold. We were actually so inspired by the Turner bike lane that we thought, heck, what would it look like if we put Turner bike lanes everywhere? We went ahead and made a pretty cool map, and I'd love to share it with you. Turns out I am late to the game on protected bike lanes. I found out that Amsterdam used to be very car congested, and they made a choice back in the 1970s to slowly begin changing their infrastructure. And it took a few decades, but we see where they're at now, bicycling capital of the world. In fact, cities all over the U.S. are adding protected bike lanes at a serious clip. And then I found out in Grand Rapids that over 324,000 bicycle rides were taken in 2023 by those Lime and scooter bikes. To me, that's an incredible number for a city that doesn't have a dense network of protected bike lanes. To me, that says that if we actually made it as safe and easy to ride a bike as it is to drive a car, we'd probably have double-digit mode shift on our hands. Can you imagine what that level of protected cycling infrastructure would do for this city? Because this isn't really about bicycling, right? It's about aligning with the right place's tech strategy to attract and retain talent through amenity-rich infrastructure. It's about providing financially and environmentally sustainable transportation options for families. It's about aligning our transit with our river restoration. It's about alleviating the $12,000 annual financial burden of car ownership. It's about closing the fatality gap between black and white cyclists. It is about building the city we want for children and our grandchildren. We've read the Bicycle Action Plan, the Vital Streets Plan. We've gone to the master planning sessions, the Rapid Master Plan open houses. We've given our feedback. We know you're headed in the right direction with mobility, and we're impressed. We wanted to take the time tonight in person to encourage you to keep going. Go big. We've got your back. City Manager Washington, I have a big ask. You know how when you were in Austin, the staff that your staff oversaw the 12 years of working with the Dutch Cycling Embassy, and you built that sweet 400-mile Dutch-inspired bike lane project? Can you do that for Grand Rapids?
All right, thank you. Your time's up. Appreciate your
Thank you.
comments. Thanks. All right, others wish to be heard?
How you doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones. It's a beautiful year. On June 8th, 2024, we'll be hosting a $100,000 esports competition at the DeVos Place. I'm very excited to be able to bring an event like this to our city, to our county, to our state, to naturally lead and bring economic change and economic growth, and actually see kids get out of poverty and see that their dreams can come true, and stop selling people dreams. Because I know too many times of just hearing stories of people just selling people dreams. And I'm very passionate about my dreams, and I never want to overpromise and underdeliver, they say. And I'm really excited to be able to bring this because I know the change I've individually created change in won International Visionaries Awards just from competition that I've done for $1,000 to $2,000, but $100,000, 6 figures. I spoke this into existence. I believe we create our own reality, and the energy that we put into it, the love, the energy, the passion, it's what you get out of it. That's why I'm the Chief Energy Officer of Jump Ahead L3C, because that's what I believe in, and I believe we coexist. I believe that different religions, different backgrounds, just how people look at the universe and just the world around us, I just believe we coexist, and I'm just really just happy to just be able to do this. I put all the love and energy that I'm passionate, and I stayed authentic and being D. Jones every single day. Not faking with the government, not faking with the hood, and I'm D. Jones with everybody. And every time I'm with everybody, if I'm with the government and the hood see me, they see I'm still the same D. Jones. And I wish that everybody could be that authentic. I wish you guys can show jokes and say jokes without people looking at you and bashing you. I wish that could be a reality for people in politics, but it's just not. I got a lot of cool things like I want to say, and I got some things that I do want to say about like one of my parents. She tried to commit suicide, and I had to stop her, and I had to call the police department. And I ain't really gonna get into the police thing, but when people car get stuck in the snow and your parent is in a hospital, and y'all can't stop the fees, and I gotta pay $200 and everything that I do for the community, I just don't want that for anybody. I think that's a legislative issue, and I think that should change for anyone, because I don't care if you love the police or not. When you got to pay off the police's pocket and your family is in the hospital and you can't get a hold of your family, I believe anybody would be angry. I think the police would be even angry if they parent and that happened to them. So I'm just very excited for everything that I'm bringing to the city. Economic change. I'm really going to give everything that I got it. I don't care who I got to go through. I'm going to stand here 10 toes down every single day and give it everything that I got, all the love, passion, and energy that I got, because I know that's what I'll get out of this. Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all have a beautiful one.
Thank you, DeAndre. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. I agree with D. Jones. I do believe in people being authentic, so I'm going to be me all day. But Nalisha from King County, I don't care if Jesus Christ is here. I'm going to ask him to make me some wine and we can turn up. So I do believe in being authentic. But I'm here because I wanted to talk about homelessness like I typically do. I haven't been here since October. Now, I recently seen that Grand Rapids has a homeless population of 1,239 people. So that's a sharp increase. I'm disappointed because y'all know my story. I've come down here. I've been coming down here for a year now. I'm just disheartened because, Mr. Washington, you're the city manager, and not once since I've come down here have you even made any comments regarding homelessness or police brutality. It's crickets, and they're chirping loud. I'm frustrated because I'm still fighting the battle that I've been fighting for the past several years regarding repeated acts of discrimination from the Starvation Army, Hale Trotter. All of these organizations can get bent because they don't actually help people like they claim to. When you have government officials, regardless of if it's our local government officials and the people in Lansing, I submitted my complaint to Governor Whitmer, to Attorney General Nessel. I'm in the process of speaking with John Fitzgerald, state representative from Wyoming, Hillary Skolton, our congresswoman. So at one point, if I'm not getting results and they're not being held accountable for purposely lying to people and giving them false hope, who do I believe in at this point? Because I've talked to countless people, countless government officials. I've protested by myself. My mom is in her early 70s. She protested. At what point do I get justice for being separated from my daughter? I've never lost or relinquished my parental rights. I haven't seen my daughter in almost 5 years. So at what point do I get justice? And when I come to these meetings, I don't just come talking for myself. I don't speak just for myself. But it's absolutely disheartening to continue to come down here and to tell my story and to reach out to a lot of people and nothing has been done. Now, if I was angry and I just came down here swinging on folks, then y'all would want to lock me up and I'll be singing the jailhouse rock like Elvis Presley. But at some point, when do we get justice? It's homeless people out here who are actually trying to do something. Not all of them are sitting up here waiting for somebody to take care of them. There are a lot of homeless people who don't want to do anything. But we're not a monolith. And I just feel like Michael Jackson. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. Y'all don't care, man. Most of y'all don't care. Some of y'all even on that panel don't care.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
I don't want to go off like I did last time, but y'all know I'm right. Cancel the Starvation Army, man. Cancel it. Period. Can't keep taking this no more, man.
Lucas again, West Side. The most damaging phrase in the language is "we've always done it this way." That's a quote from Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. I keep it on an engraved panel in my office. I won't patronize people with an explanation of who she was. If you don't know, get thee to Google. Tonight I brought each of you a gift in the form of a postcard that expresses a similar sentiment. Tradition. Just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. That speaks to how I view almost everything. I know you're all real shocked to hear that. It applies most recently to something Mayor Bliss said last month regarding citizens urging you to help us call upon higher government powers to support a Gaza ceasefire. Mayor, you made it clear that this was a no-go. And I quote, "Unlike other communities, we do not have the practice of passing resolutions or symbolic resolutions on issues that are outside of our purview. That has not been our practice. It was actually started under several of my predecessors." Now, I'm not picking on you specifically. It's the tradition itself that's out of step with modern framing. People want bigger thinking. People want a city that'll buck tired, unprincipled old traditions. People want leaders to stand up to their donors, some of whom are the beneficiaries of, and in the case of the Prince family, the perpetrators of, violence and oppression overseas. I believe you, that you feel the weight and sadness of this topic. But you've got great video blogs and assorted social media accounts, the command of media attention anytime you want it. Plenty of options that don't have to mean that you're taking time from resources away from local concerns. We know how global and national concerns can become local real fast. Look at the summer of 2020. Grand Rapids had turned a blind eye to police corruption and violence and ended up paying dividends on all of that aloofness. You never know when the issue you think is outside your purview will come home and be important enough to become an uprising of your own citizens. And when that time comes, you can explain it away less if you've already told the community what you're about when you had the chance. It's all part of leading with guts. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can solve the potholes that the small thinkers in our community claim to be the only thing they want you working on, while also thinking about the big picture. I pick up my kid every day at City High. On the sign in front of our school, we display a phrase, "Think global, act local." It's what we're asking bright young minds to do, and it's not too much to ask of our elected leaders.
Thank you, Lucas. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Ney Raubiri, Grand Rapids resident, 2nd Ward. I'm here as a resident as well as a cyclist to support Friends of Slow Street's proposal for protected bike lanes that would be distributed equitably across the city. This proposal has wide community and business support. I just want to say that I think it represents a real opportunity. Done well, protected bike lanes can improve racial and economic equity, improve overall quality of life for residents, attract investment, make Grand Rapids an even more prosperous place to live and work. Increase health outcomes at the same time as reducing air pollution, which disproportionately harms our Black and brown communities and is a drain on the community's wealth. Protected bike lanes are also incidentally a critical step toward the city's goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. All this makes it a strong return on investment, and the sooner that investment starts, the more impact, the more return. Based on what we've seen in other communities, I believe city planners will someday in the future look back and wish they'd gone hard on bike lanes sooner. Grand Rapids has a chance to be the leader that other cities will follow if it chooses people-centered mobility. Thanks for all you're doing on this front, and just want to encourage you to do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Anna Carley. Grand Rapids is my city of residence, the 3rd Ward. I am also the executive director for Strong Towns Grand Rapids. Strong Towns Grand Rapids is a local group that was created last year as residents of Grand Rapids and the surrounding cities. We have organized around 5 key ideas: safe and productive streets, transparent local accounting, and highway expansion, and parking mandates and subsidies, and increased housing. Tonight we're here in support of Friends of Slow Streets Advocacy Day to renew support within Grand Rapids for pre-existing plans and initiatives the city has come up with in regards to protected bike lanes. Some of these plans have not had the impact they should have by the city's own measures. Strong Towns Grand Rapids would like to express our interest and support of the city for ensuring these plans are achieved in a timely manner. Grand Rapids should be the gem of Michigan in the next 5 years. By increasing housing density within the city, not only helps solve the housing crisis, but also increases public transit use, improves economic conditions, and lets our local businesses thrive. Protected bike lanes are key corridors will be a positive attribute towards Grand Rapids in the future. Bike lanes, while not as flashy as large-scale development projects, help weave the fabric of community within the city. With a strong sense of community and neighborhoods, people gain a sense of belonging and have a vested interest in the city. A bike can be a freedom for all people, from children to the elderly. Bike lanes are part of building safe, productive streets that will only benefit the city's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your work. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Brian Cody. I live in Heritage Hill, and I'm currently serving as the president of the board of the Association for Heritage Hill. I'm here today to read a letter that was submitted to the Planning Commission on behalf of the Hill and the research that we have done pertaining to the issues of density, or the proposed amendments of density and the ADUs. Dear Ms. Turkelson, on November 1st, 2023 and November 4th, 2023, the Heritage Hill Association held 2 community forums focused on the proposed zoning ordinance amendments pertaining to accessory dwelling units and the number of unrelated persons living together. Each began with an informative presentation concerning the proposed changes and addressing their potential impacts. This was immediately followed by a breakout session where neighbors in small groups considered the pros and cons of changes in density, listed them on a piece of paper, and shared the top ones with the larger group. The lists of pros and cons from both sessions have been compiled into the Heritage Hill Housing Discussions Report. See attached. At the conclusion of each session, attendees received feedback surveys asking them to rate their experience and the usefulness of the content. The feedback from these surveys has been compiled into the HHA 2023 Roundtable Feedback Report. We request that this letter and the accompanying reports be entered into the public record and ask that each member of the commission review these items. While we do not make any endorsement of the comments therein, we hope to impress upon the commission the strong desire for engagement with community on the topics of density and proposed amendments. Regards, Brian Cody, the Heritage Hill Association President. And in addition, I will just raise the top concerns and the top benefits of the ADUs and the density amendments. Top benefits would be economic development, housing availability, community, affordability, walkability, and access. The top concerns that were noted were parking, community, absentee landlords, maintenance, traffic, safety, and infrastructure. Thank you for your time, and I was also asked to give these to a staffer if there is one available.
Can give it to our city clerk, Mr. on Dorfman. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, everyone. My name is Donovan Thiessen, and I'm a Grand Rapids City resident in the 2nd Ward, and I'm also a transplant here. I moved here back in April, and I live right in Morton Apartments, right in downtown. Since moving here, I've become an active member in our biking scene, becoming a volunteer board member with the Greater Grand Rapids Biking Coalition, an active member of the Downtown Neighbor Network Advisory Committee, and alongside that, I participate in volunteer events across the city, such as Food Truck Fridays, doing bike parking, as well as the Grand Fondo bike event. And so, the benefits of a robust biking culture in our city is manifold. It ranges from improved health, enabling a low-carbon lifestyle, and fostering a sense of belonging. And so, through these experiences, I found a welcoming community, made friendships for a new resident in Grand Rapids. However, my first exposure to biking here was during Active Commute Week, when someone experiencing homelessness told me that they were struck by a car and that they were reluctant to press charges. That left an impression on me, and so it might seem isolated, but that incident really underscores the larger and wider safety issues for bicyclists and pedestrians in the city. For me, I have been unable to find publicly available data through the Grand Rapids website regarding crash incidents with bikers. Now, I found sources that were last updated in 2017 and 2021. When I attended a master planning session back in the spring, there was data there, and I was surprised, but unsurprisingly, incidents involving a biker were restricted mainly to downtown and large, busy roads. Now, studies have shown that perceived traffic danger is one of the largest barriers for biking. I argue that biking downtown requires a degree of confidence. And so as a new resident, I had to get comfortable with that. For me, when I take my bike to go to physical therapy appointments, the ideal route is going up the Fulton Street Hill, but I have to zigzag going different routes onto Cherry Street just so I can feel safe. No matter where I go, though, that protection is a painted bike lane. The biggest advantage that protected bike lanes offer is that they keep cars out of the bike lane itself. I would like to see Grand Rapids design streets for safety rather than traffic efficiency, and this is evident by the recently implemented protected bike lane over on Turner. I'm very happy about that implementation, and I think Grand Rapids should have more than 100 miles of protected bike lanes and a thorough connected bike network. According to research done by the New York City Department of Transportation, the first pilot program for their protected bike lane was attributed to a 49% increase in nearby retail sales. People are incentivized to use safe biking infrastructure when it's available and when it's reliable. When we continue to design streets for safety, it improves our quality of life and increases revenue for local businesses. In conclusion, I urge the City Commission to consider these points seriously. The development of protected bike lanes like the one on Turner Avenue are not just an investment in our infrastructure, but an investment in the community's health, economy, and future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is Foster Thorburn. I'm a resident of Allendale, frequently work in Grand Rapids. I'm here tonight to advocate that the Grand Rapids City Commission pass a symbolic resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza and an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. According to the most recent data, the number of Palestinians confirmed to be killed has reached above 25,000, which is most likely an undercount given the amount of bodies trapped under the rubble. The Associated Press puts the percentage of displaced residents in Gaza at 85%, with UN officials saying that roughly 1 in 4 Gazans are facing starvation. Let me remind all that during October of 2023, prior to October 7th, that is, Israel's intelligence minister created a, quote, concept paper which proposed transferring the Gaza Strip's 2.3 million residents to Egypt's Sinai Peninsula and blocking the re-entry of those displaced Palestinians. This is not my interpretation of a leaked document. These are the words of the Associated Press, and this is a document publicly acknowledged by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office. And he can come to me afterwards of my comments to see evidence of this. What is happening in Gaza is a deliberate genocide of the Palestinian people, carried out by the Israeli military with bombs and missile equipment provided by the United States, and therefore the citizens of Grand Rapids. I think everyone in this room, but particularly the city governments, need to ask themselves, how many more thousands of Palestinians must be murdered before we take a call to action? So far, 25,000 has not been enough for the Grand Rapids city government, despite mass calls to do so from your constituents. I urge you to join the Michigan cities of Detroit, Dearborn, Hamtramck, Ypsi, Dearborn Heights, and Ann Arbor, and call for a ceasefire and an end to U.S. military aid in Israel. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name's Wylan, and I am a Grand Rapids resident. When I came to this city from Detroit, I thought it was a pretty sad, sleepy town. It appeared to be just like a huge advertisement for a soulless enterprise. But the pulse of the city, the beating of its heart on the pavement, carries life and love and offers care, and delivers a spirit of liberation that cannot be silenced. But every so often on a Tuesday night, I'll stand staring into the eyes of a sad, sleepy commission, a soulless enterprise. A board like a barrier, but I'm backed by the beating heart of my community. And I'm here again on behalf of that community, begging this board, trying to milk an ounce of humanity from Grand Rapids' finest. You paint on looks of concern, you post pictures to fuel your distorted images of yourself as saviors, and you shirk every responsibility you have towards this community. You have time to post on Instagram. You have the foresight to limit comments. Yet you are blind to the city's suffering and deaf to its demands. You politely nod along as we plead, and then you look down from your thrones of privilege with the nerve to say you don't have any power in calling for a ceasefire. You act like it's meaningless, but don't you operate on meaningless signals of change? Don't you beat up protesters on the street you named after Breonna Taylor? If there's no weight carried by a resolution from this body calling for a ceasefire, then why won't you do it? Whose pockets are you in, and why do you submit to them over the demands of your constituents? I'm here asking for the bare minimum, as I always do, and as always, you are failing me. Detroit, Dearborn, Hamtramck, Ypsi, Dearborn Heights, and Ann Arbor have all called for a ceasefire, and it's time you find the decency to do the same. We will remain steadfast in our demands for a ceasefire. Free Palestine, and may our country be freed by the plague of posturing politicians who stand in the way. And I want to add on the bike stuff, I do almost get hit every single time I ride my bike anywhere, so I support those people too.
Thanks. Others wish to be heard?
I'm Laura Murrison, 3rd Ward. I'm here to advocate for slow streets and protected, connected bike lanes. Every parent has dreams for their children. Maybe you've sent kids to college, or perhaps dreamed to see your niece play basketball for MSU, or hope a child will join you in the family business. My son George here, he loves to arrange groceries at Ken's Fruit Market, buy cookies at Making Time Kitchen, and begs to go watch Wheel of Fortune with his grandparents. My dream for him, for everyone, whether or not they have a disability like George, is that he be able to safely, independently go places in the community without mom tagging along. I won't always be here. George drives the go-karts at Craig's Cruisers. Thankfully, he doesn't need to pass a test for that. The 2002 master plan states all residents will be able to get to work, school, recreational opportunities, or shopping without relying on a car. That leaves George the option of a bike or bus. The go-karts only go in loops, and buses don't work for every trip, and Uber gets pricey. We bike almost everywhere. We biked here tonight. I can't count the number of times we've gotten on our bicycles and a concerned bystander calls, "Be safe." It happened twice today already. With bike lanes ending in weird places, the only protection, a white painted line, and drivers forgetting that their neighbors, our precious children, use the streets, or ought to be able to use the streets. Should George go biking on his own? Should I? The Grand Rapids Vital Streets vision, multimodal and safe, serving all people of our community. But our city streets don't serve all people. They are not multimodal. They are not safe. Traffic fatalities have increased since Vital Streets began. We've seen some improvements, new pedestrian priority signals at some intersections, flashing beacons at a handful of road crossings, a protected bikeway on Turner, traffic calming on College north of Leonard. Let's prioritize more safety features like this, and quickly. Let's embrace Slow Street's vision of 105 miles of protected bikeways. I can be vigilant But George cannot be safe on his bike alone unless you, all of you, on the city commission, decide that my dream for my son is possible and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Hello. I am Adam Williams, resident of the Highland Park neighborhood in the 2nd Ward. I'm here tonight on behalf of, I want to support Friends of Slow Streets and Strong Towns Grand Rapids. Both of these organizations have visions that align with the so many plans the city has adopted over the last decade. I attended many of the meetings and public engagement for the development of those plans, and I have been encouraged by their adoption. I would love to see implementation as bold as the text of the plans. And I support policies and policy reform to encourage housing density. While fear of change in the neighborhood is understandable, and as a neighborhood organization or organizer, I certainly hear that fear, but our neighborhoods are changing already. When I attempt to encourage younger residents to participate in our association, I hear interest, and then I hear, but I'm only here until my lease ends, because they have to move again to find more affordable housing. The current policies are not facilitating community. Shortly after the city painted a bike gutter on Monroe Avenue, a decade ago or more, I'm old, I sold my car. I travel by walking, biking, and public transit. There are lots of people like me in this city. As a consequence of my choice, I'd just like to point out that I spend almost all my money in Grand Rapids, in local businesses, possibly owned by residents of Grand Rapids, employing people in Grand Rapids who then pay city income tax. There is no greater support this body can provide to local businesses than a safe, robust, and affordable mobility options. So thank you, and 105 miles sounds great.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Appreciate your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
All right. Hey there, hi there, hello there. My name is Spencer Young. I'm from the Grand Rapids Charter Township, representing Slow Streets USA, as well as Strong Towns Grand Rapids. And as somebody who watches the news, I hear a lot of Governor Whitmer talking about ways we can try and get young professionals, younger millennials, Generation Z. How do we get those kinds of people into Michigan? And I feel like as somebody who is 27 years old, so right on the line of where that is, I feel qualified to say, I think a really good way of doing that is to invest in our transit system, because when I talk to people my age, where do they move to? Where do they want to move to? I hear a lot of places like Chicago, Illinois, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Salt Lake, Utah, and even New York and Los Angeles, places that are building and expanding these robust public transit systems. And I think if we want to keep people here and retain them well, we should try and expanding our own system, whether that be through expanding the bus system, reforming it so it conforms to our already existing grid line, light rail, maybe even considering interurbans to places like Muskegon, Grand Haven, Holland, or Lansing, or just Amtrak, or any number of options for public transit, because as somebody who doesn't own a car here, I would appreciate that, because that's kind of my lifeline. And it seems like the people of Grand Rapids already want it, because if you look at the ridership numbers for similar cities, comparing them to Grand Rapids, despite having half the budget of similar transit systems, Grand Rapids somehow has 3 times the ridership of these other systems. So clearly the interest is there for more and better public transit. So it's definitely something to at least consider, if not get shovels in the dirt and do it, especially with projects going in that are low parking, such as the new soccer stadium going in, as well as the development from Corwell on Monroe North. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Amy Brock. I vote in the 49548 zip code.
I am in the fellowship at Link Up organization. I'm a member of the Kent County Progressive Caucus Board. And I'm here tonight to talk about the master plan, Safe Housing for All agenda. And I'm just kind of as I hear the comments, I think to myself, I realize you all care. And I think sometimes maybe we remain stone-faced at times because maybe hearing all these comments, it must be overwhelming at moments to think I care, but I've heard of comments at times from you guys saying, well, that part isn't our job or this part isn't our job. I think there must be some responsibility at some point. I know I've had different jobs where I say, but I have to collaborate with this group. I have to collaborate with this group. I think with some of these decisions, I hear a lot of great ideas in this audience, actually, where some collaboration must need to start taking place, that maybe some pieces are missing. Because with this housing for all, I'm seeing nuisance ordinances passed, loitering ordinances being passed. The poor are being discriminated at a higher rate. Gentrification is happening in neighborhoods. Big builders are getting tax breaks, but are we ensuring that the rental rates are going to be appropriate for the people who can afford that at jobs that they're getting? Are we meeting with people and ensuring this for folks? No, I don't think we are. And so what is going on that we're spending more money on drones and surveillance than we are to ensure that the cool city that Grand Rapids is, that the people can actually live here who built this city. We were blue collar people. We are steel case people. We are furniture builders. We are car people. I was a former teacher in the city. I was born at St. Mary's Hospital 53 years ago. And I actually was not going to speak tonight because I was proud of you, Mayor Bliss, and I still am. But 6 years ago, I had a terrible tragedy. I'm sure you remember who I am. And all of you, well, not all of you were still there, but people looked through me like I was nothing. And I'm somebody. But this city often looks through people. They paint them in a certain way. And we're many things. And this is for you tonight, Mr. Canepa, who's a great philanthropist of this city. Right across from the street of the hospital I was born, there's a great building in his name. And I don't have the money, Mr. Canepa does. But I hope in some way my life means something in his honor. Because I had a terrible tragedy of night just like tonight. I was almost afraid to drive here. Every time I turn the key in my car, I'm afraid. I think of him every day of my life.
Amy.
Commissioner Knight, you changed your vote one time.
Hey, Amy, I'm sorry your time is up, but
someone didn't recognize you. I want you all to think about every time you weren't recognized by someone. And I want you to think of those citizens as you make decisions in this city.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking tonight, Amy. Appreciate it. All right, others who should be heard.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Washington, City Commissioners. My name is Stefan Puelka. I'm a resident of the 2nd Ward. Had something to do with the founding of our very own chapter of Strong Towns. It's obviously grown much past my own abilities, and now it's in the capable hands of Anna Carly. I'm here in support of our friends of Slow Streets and their effort to make our city safer and more accessible for all. I believe in our city. That's why after 4 years in the Marine Corps, I chose to move back here of all places. Grand Rapids has enormous potential, full of hardworking people dreaming of a better future. And if we want our city to reach population and sustainability goals, we must think and act beyond the American status quo of single-family zoning and mobility inequality. Some potential incremental changes obviously have been talked about tonight, but here are some of my own, and we obviously need to continue to build protected bike lanes. The amount of times I can't count on both of my hands. I talk to neighbors in the Creston neighborhood often as a board member there. People of all ages iterate to me that they want for safety, or their want of safety on roads while biking. A concerted effort of building physical barriers to protect cyclists would yield amazing results for our city. Increasing zoning density removing mandatory minimum parking, and working with local, regional, and state partners to improve multimodal transportation are other incremental changes we as a city can embrace to move into the future. The Grand Rapids of the future can be an affordable, equitable, safe, productive, sustainable place. We just need to prioritize the right things and act. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Elise, and I'm a resident of Heritage Hill. I love the direction Grand Rapids is going. Thank you for all you're doing to make this city a wonderful place to live and work. I support the agendas of Strong Towns and Friends of Slow Streets. I particularly support creating protected bike lanes, eliminating mandatory parking minimums, and ramping up our public transit options. I want to be able to forego my car someday. I don't feel confident in selling it yet, however, because I'm really not able to do my daily activities around here without one. However, some of my friends don't have the same options, notably friends I have who are over the age of 90, and 2 of my cousins who are blind. These friends of mine are unable to reach a high degree of transportation independence here in Grand Rapids. Because of this, some of them have chosen to move to other cities, but I wish they were able to thrive in Grand Rapids because I miss them. Thank you for what you're doing to make Grand Rapids more walkable and bikeable. Please continue your efforts and keep thinking creatively on various ways to make our streets easier to navigate without a car. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, my name's Tiana. I live in the 3rd Ward. I'm also here today with Slow Streets. I'll keep my comments brief, but I wanted to offer another perspective, which is the car perspective. I'm not really a bicyclist, but I am a driver. I am driving all over the state and all over Grand Rapids all the time. And if we had protected bike lanes, drivers would also be safer, not just bicyclists. I have been on both ends of that accident. I have been run over by a car, and I have also hit a bicyclist while driving my car. So, I mean, everybody I know, when they're driving their car, they get really angry at all the bicyclists on the road. And so I think it would be better for everybody if we had protected bike lanes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening once again. It's a new calendar year, and I'm here once again to defend and speak up for our most vulnerable citizens, the unborn, and their mothers, as illustrated by this testimony. The 2 red lines sent her into a state of panic. A call to Planned Parenthood confirmed she need not come in for an examination. A telemed appointment would now suffice, and it would cost less. Within the hour, the prescription was ready. 2 little pills would be her quote-unquote lifeline. No one will ever know. This is safe. This is easy. They told me so. This will give me my future back. She wanted to believe all that. Hours later, reality proved otherwise. Tears rained down her face while she tried to muffle cries and endure excruciating cramps. Blood everywhere. Severely weakened, all she could do was lay on the cold floor for hours. Hemorrhaging and pain would last for weeks. No one told her that women have died from these pills, that thousands have had serious complications. No one warned her that the tissue she passed would have a little nose and perfectly formed upper lips. My own thought is, can you imagine what it must be like to pass a baby at 8 or 9 months? No one explained she'd deliver a tiny baby into a toilet, an image she would never be able to unsee. She was further along suspected, but a doctor never examined her. Instead, a stranger prescribed an abortion via computer. She never felt more alone, scared, wounded. This is mail-order abortion. This is what the FDA, the agency that is supposed to safeguard our health, is now allowing. This is what the abortion industry is selling. Telehealth that kills preborn babies and seriously puts women's physical and emotional health at risk. Let me say again, if you support, this is my thought, if you support the murder pill, not only do you hate children, but now you hate women. Back alley abortions has come back into the home. We mustn't let it. We must warn all young women susceptible to the lies and deceptions of the abortion industry. We must assure them of our help and support. This is what is happening at 425 East Cherry and the pharmacies in Grand Rapids that dispose of the murder pill. I know politicians are supported by Planned Parenthood, and they support you. If you do so, you're an accomplice to murder, according to the word.
All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is Brian DeVries. I'm here in support of the Slow Streets group. I live in the northeast side of town, although I was born and raised in Granville. In my career as a scientist, I've seen a lot of communities with a lot of different approaches and to bicyclists and town planning, including places in West Africa that having a bicycle was a huge privilege, but also places where it was just a very normal, everyday part of life, such as Copenhagen and Ann Arbor. But one of the reasons we moved back here, back to the hometown, is that it's very obvious that Grand Rapids has been making a lot of effort to make their, especially downtown, to make the city a better, nicer place for people to live, with more walkable communities, and was working on their cycling infrastructure. And I want to encourage you to continue supporting this work. It's long, hard work that takes a while to get it done, because the bicycle network doesn't work very well if there is a missing piece. The bus doesn't work if it doesn't take you both there and back. But I wanted to encourage you to continue on these efforts. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Welcome, Mark. Hi.
Hello, friends, and Happy New Year. Mark from Grand Rapids. The public comments that were mentioned up here, they forgot one thing. Are you registered to vote? If you don't like what your elected leaders are doing, vote. It's that simple. If you want to have safe bike lanes, vote. It's that simple. If you want lives saved, vote. It's that simple. If you don't want to have high infant mortality rates as the states that ban abortion rights, vote. It's that simple. If you don't, you have the other side who are digging down in their heels, want to get rid of issues that affect the people. That's why in this election year, it's time for everybody, especially the young people, get registered to vote. Because you could mean the difference between a better America or horrible America. It's just that simple. And I will keep on saying this until the final tallies in mid-November Because if you don't vote, I'm going to cook you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. All right. Hi, welcome.
Good evening, Ned Andre, resident in Boston Square neighborhood. I'm here to speak tonight about the Slow Streets movement, and I stand in favor, and I'd like to encourage all of you to consider a couple of things. Number one, I also contract with the Community Collaboration on Climate Change. In the fight against climate change, bikeability, walkability is an important factor, and we need to, as a city, make streets that are bikeable. Two, I was served as a first responder in 2 car-bike accidents in Boston Square over the last year. A lot of these young people are bicycling to school, and I responded. The first one I saw, a young man was right at the corner of Kalamazoo and Fuller, and he was crossing the intersection there, and he was struck by a car, and his bike was mangled, and he was tossed to the ground, and we just happened to be in the neighborhood. And we called 911, and we, directed traffic around the incident and helped the young man recover his bike and get him to the edge of the road. But that's a safety issue for a lot of these young people. And then in the other incident, a little further up, Kalamazoo and Johnson, a young lady also was riding home from school, and she was struck by a car, and her injuries were more serious. And we had to call 911, and she was carted away in an ambulance. So if you think about from the climate perspective and what we can do as a city to be more climate friendly and just a safety issue, if we can get our community, if we can slow down traffic, people come up and down Kalamazoo, I'd say at an average of about 50 to 60 miles an hour, it seems. Just so to slow down traffic, make it more walkable, make it more bikeable, I think it's a worthwhile cause. So please consider that very strongly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ned, and thanks for your work on C4. All right, others wish to be heard tonight? Hi, welcome.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I'm the Director of Outreach for Strong Towns Grand Rapids and a proud Third Ward resident. You've heard a lot about how bike lanes are really good for the economy, really good for the environment, really good for everyone. I'm also going to tell you why they're really good, but in a completely different way. I'm going to tell you the sad statistic of pedestrian deaths in the Grand Rapids area. On January 19th this year, a 26-year-old man was hit by a car walking across the street with no sidewalks. He was killed. On December 28th, a 53-year-old man was killed crossing the street. On December 11th, a teenager was fatally killed by a car crossing the street. On November 30th, a pedestrian was hit and killed by a car. On November 8th, a 14-year-old boy was killed in the street by a car while he was crossing it. On November 5th, a 23-year-old man was killed crossing the street. On November 3rd, a pedestrian was killed by a car on a neighborhood street in front of his house. November 2nd, a pedestrian was killed in front of the homeless shelter downtown, right downtown. They found him pinned under the car. He died after they removed the car when the firefighters picked the car up. He bled out on the street. In October, I had an employee of mine get hit by a car. He is still unemployed. He can't find work. He is too badly injured to work in his former career. That list goes on and on. Just Google it. It's amazing how many people are killed or hit by cars in the city of Grand Rapids. And those are pedestrians, but a lot of people are dying in pedal. I bike to work every day, and through that area just last year, someone was hit by a car, dragged a couple of blocks, and was killed. The driver drove off. They did try him. They found him. They tried him. He was going to prison, rightfully. But I bike through that area every day. It's not a safe area. That's the same area that Ned is talking to about people driving 40 to 50 through there when it's 25 miles an hour. All of these people that died are coworkers, their classmates, their parents, their neighbors, their loved ones. According to the IHS, pedestrian deaths are up 80%. It means drivers are more dangerous. Pedestrians are dying at a faster rate. Cars are more dangerous. And this is a policy failure. This is a design failure. We have failed to design our city over the last 60 years, we made a choice to move from a pedestrian city to a car driving city. And now your citizens, the people that vote for you, want to move back to a pedestrian city and have 105 miles of bike lanes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Ken Miguel Cipriano, resident of Burton Heights. I'm really here just to give time for a friend to show up and give public comment. But I also wanted to thank the City of Grand Rapids, Mobile GR for extending the dash hours. I think that's really great. I'm also a member of Friends of Slow Streets and obviously in support of that. And to use up more of the time to give this person an opportunity to speak, I want to say that a lot of the things that are being spoken about today in the work, the bike lane on Turner, the work on the dash, all that stuff is things that we've already been promised in the strategic plan. So I want to applaud this body for doing that. Just as a reminder, so in the city strategic plan, the priority economic prosperity and affordability. That's objective 2, support the creation, retention, and growth of businesses that enhances residents' employment opportunities. So that's strategy 1, prioritize incentives for private development and business retention, expansion, and attraction projects that result in employee retention. Strategy 4, empower corridor improvement authorities and business improvement districts to invest in their neighborhood business districts to support business retention, expansion, and new business creation and infrastructure investment. That's where that would fall in line. Strategy 6, leverage the river restoration project for diverse and equitable economic growth opportunities. Objective 5, within the same priority, support development and placemaking efforts and contribute to making Grand Rapids a destination city. People spoke about that. Strategy 1, collaborate with businesses and community partners to use activations and events to promote Grand Rapids for economic development and tourist attraction. Strategy 2, permit, produce, and/or financially support a variety of events and activations that highlight and celebrate the art, music, culture, diversity, innovation, outdoor recreation, and local cuisine and beverage options. Actually, a lot of these members had submitted a plan for an event, and we were denied twice by the city. Maybe we can reevaluate that in the next year. Priority health and environment, objective 1, reduce carbon emissions, support climate adaptation, increase climate resiliency. Strategy 2, within that priority, enhance collaboration with partners on strategies and actions to address climate change. A lot of partners here. Strategy 3, reduce carbon greenhouse gas emissions from city operations. That includes a fleet. Talk to Mobile GR. I think there's work there. Strategy 4, create and support programs and policies to reduce carbon greenhouse. Oh, I think I just read that. Objective 2, ensure equitable access to and use of green spaces and recreational offerings. Within that, there's strategy 3, increase accessible, diverse, and inclusive recreational programs and facilities. Those are bike facilities. Those are protected bike lanes, things of that nature. And then just look at priority mobility. Basically, all of the mobility priority and all of the objectives and strategies that are there. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks. All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Hi, big thanks to Ken for waiting for me. Sorry, had to put a kid to bed and make the bus, so thank you. Hi, my name is Kenzie Channing. I live in the Fulton Heights neighborhood in Ward 2. My family and I moved here from Oakland, California 5 years ago, where we didn't need a car. And we decided to continue our car-free lifestyle here in GR. We bike our daughter to daycare. I use my bike to get groceries, to make meetings for work. It is our mode of transportation, unless the weather is like it has been in the past 2 weeks, and we use the bus in that case. I'm here to show my support for the continued densification efforts that the City of Grand Rapids is undergoing. It's important to add more density to our city because it continues to add choice for people in the way that they get around, the things that they enjoy, the opportunities that they have available to them when they move here. I'm excited to see the efforts that the city is doing through the community master planning effort to add accessory dwelling units and remove parking and increase density in all neighborhoods, no matter where it is. I would love to see Mobile GR have more power to implement multimodal possibilities throughout our city. A few things I'd love to celebrate, the Turner bike lane, just the stress that I feel released when I am on a protected bike lane is incredible. So just firsthand experience there. yield to bike signs that exist on North Division. It's great to have those. I think we need more education around cars and how to use those when bikers are present. The Ziklas that are on Fulton at Sheldon and Wealthy at Front Street show that we can do innovative things here and add a little public art to something fun like municipal transportation. I love businesses in our parks like Has Heart. I think that is a great opportunity that we can repeat in other parks across the city, maybe for community gardens or food access points. And I am so excited that the Dash bus is returning to 7 days a week. That's going to be a game changer for my family, and we are bummed that that opportunity went away in the first place at all. So thank you for bringing that back. Please continue densification efforts across our city, and I think increased investment is the way to do that. Number one, implementing our bike plan. We have one. Let's do it, put it all the way through. I want more neighbors. I want more bike lanes. I want more resources front and center within our city's public access points. And I think that saying yes to more density across our city is the way for us to grow. Thanks.
Thanks, Kenzie, and thanks for your work. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Hello, I hope I also didn't hold anything up. My name is Marta, and despite what my daughter told me before I left that I look like her dad, or a dad, and I said thank you, and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, yes, I am a little bit dressed up like a dad today, but that's all right. I am a mom of 2 great kids, and I come here with 2 hats on. One is that I have started a bike bus at Grand Rapids Montessori, and I've been helping other GRPS schools seed programs like that. I don't know if you've seen bike buses. Some of the coverage that they've gotten, especially in Oregon, they're tremendous. It is this enormous event. I'm going to be honest, when they get started, it is not enormous. And it is a little frustrating. You think, well, this is such a great idea. But as we've been consistent with it, it's really grown. And I've gotten so much excitement from others that I'm really looking forward to having a bigger Earth Day impact. And I would love to have any commissioners come to help us and ride with us on spring return for bike buses in Grand Rapids. And that's why I'm in support of the Slow Streets plan and what they're calling for, especially around the Vision Zero and the Safe Routes to School. I've been working with Colleen and others at the Michigan Fitness Foundation that supports a lot of the safe routes. I've been talking and getting great support from the city in the department where they oversee helping and partnering. But I think that what could really be most helpful is more protected and connected bike lanes. I just this summer started with my own kids outside of Bike Bus trying to do street riding in the side streets, and it is very daunting. I do not feel safe on many streets because drivers, despite our new law, are still distracted by cell phones and a lot of other things. And I just think that there's room for improvement. I look at Milwaukee, I look at all of these cities nearby us that are making some of these investments, and I think, we should be that shining example, kind of like how we were the first to separate our sewer system and our stormwater. I think that we can be leaders in this way, and we have a precedent for that with our painted bike lanes, but let's take it to the next level with some of these other steps. And second, infrastructure matters. When we share that Turner project with parents and others, there is a change in how people think about biking with their families when they see that, oh, well, what if we could have that in my neighborhood? So I think when we look at making these systematic and infrastructure changes, it allows and so many more people to have that choice and to feel like that's accessible to them in a different way than what we have right now. So thank you so much. Sorry to hold things up. I'm also a parent trying to balance all the things, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Marta. It's great to see you. All right, I'm going to close that public comment period, and I will turn to my colleagues. I think I'll start down here with Commissioner Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. And a huge thank you to the cacophony of voices that have come into the room and shared their thoughts and concerns tonight is greatly appreciated. Thinking about the conversation around the bike safety and the slow streets, I'm a biker. I stay on the trail, though, because I get nervous in the street, too. And I used to ride my bike from the northeast side of town all the way downtown to work, back and forth. Now, it was rather cute, so I had to stop that. But I hear you, and I do think it's important that our people are protected. I used to run a youth program at the Urban League, and I got young people from the community, especially from the inner city, to learn about different ways of transportation, especially riding their bikes. Was able to get them, each and every kid in that program, a bike. And I had one young man who used to bike from the northwest side of town over to the office, and then one day he got hit twice. So I understand the need and the importance of, one, educating people about like bike lanes, because I think sometimes we do stuff and we don't tell people how to do the stuff. And so making sure that people understand the importance of it and understand how we can share. I would love for our community to be even more usable as far as using bikes and scooters and things like that. I travel quite a bit. I was out of the country for a couple of years. I loved being in Japan and seeing how they utilize their bike system. And I'm talking about women who were 80 and 90 years old. They could hop on and off that bike better than I could. And I appreciated that because I learned a lot about myself, and I thought a lot about us here in this country and how we do things and how we get back and forth. And a lot of times we do too much. I mean, I can't go to Sam's Club on a bike and put that much toilet paper in a basket, right? But I would love to do that. I think it creates a healthier community, and it helps us to really have more respect for each other. I love that there's subways to be able to get on the subway and get from one side of town. I mean, I love to get rid of my car and be able to do that. And it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I think we're on a good path to really think about how we share our space better with each other and provide some opportunities. So thank you for bringing that forward, and just want to highlight some of the things that we talked about today with the report that our police department gave. Sometimes we think about all the bad stuff, but there's some really good stuff that I encouraged us to continue to share with community on how they are able to save some lives through helping people who are a part of drug overdoses and caught up in that world, and being able to really look at some of the good things that they're doing to stop that flow of illegal drugs and things that are happening in our community. And then also our emergency management system, how they kicked into place when Storm Jerry, like I said, I didn't know when winter storms got names, but when she rolled in to our lives, and how they clicked into action, and how we highlighted some of our streets and snow plowing individuals this afternoon. And I know that's some heavy work, moving 30 inches of snow in a couple of days to make sure we can get back and forth where we need to get. So I just want to highlight them and thank them for the work that they're doing in this community. And that's it.
Thanks. Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming out tonight and sharing what's on your heart and mind. The protected bike lane thing, the newest one that got mentioned several times tonight, Turner, is in the first ward, and so it's been there's been a lot of communication about that fine bike lane in our neighborhood, and hindsight might be 20/20 about maybe where it got placed or how it got designed, but it is I think it's a great amenity. I think there's still some learning curves on our end. You mentioned our friend Jerry and the 30-some inches of snow, and how we manage through some of the the ability to use a bike lane when there's 30 inches of snow, and how we take care of it. Hindsight again, maybe it could have been in a different location, and I think we have some learning to do on our end about how we build bike lanes and other amenities like crosswalks and roundabouts, and how we make them work and work well. But I'm hopeful that we continue to work on putting more protected bike lanes in. I really think Seward Avenue on the west side is really a place where a bike lane should be considered someday in the future. It was always designed to be this. There's no main north-south road along the west side of Grand Rapids that goes from the bottom of the ward to the top of the ward, and that's got like a big, beautiful, wide boulevard that I think would have been a better spot for Turner, but we didn't make that decision. So hopefully, as we continue to do this, it's making sure that these amenities get put in the places that work the best, and not being able to learn from the errors of our ways, and hopefully correct some things so that it works for not only the people that want to use the bike lanes, but for the people that live along those corridors too, because that's also proposed some challenges where some folks who might not use bikes every day have lost parking at their house. That those houses on Turner, when the highway got built, lost their driveway in a lot of circumstances, so people don't have places to park for people who do rely on a vehicle transportation. So just being thoughtful about how we do that moving forward. And then I know a lot of folks came to speak tonight about housing stuff. Just a reminder that the Planning Commission is here in this room Thursday at 12:30, and we'll be talking about a variety of zoning changes. So I encourage you all to make your voices heard in that to that body, as well as they'll be making a recommendation to this body for future consideration.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Isasi.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, nice to see a number of people. I think so many of you that spoke tonight, many of you I don't know, but many of you I think of as the examples when I say, I see Adam, I see Marta, I see other people, Ken, I see you in our neighborhoods, and I think that's a really important connection point. I appreciated the comments about both from a bike rider perspective and a driver perspective, as somebody who is always trying to get to something with 5 minutes to spare. My husband is an active bike rider, and I too worry about him and ask him to write me every time he gets somewhere to know that he made it home safe. So thanks for these important conversations, and thank you for just your passion, and also just talking about how we can do things differently. I think, when I go to Chicago, my husband will be like, you'll walk this far in Chicago, but I feel like you don't do that in Grand Rapids, Mindy. And so I think it's a lot of our behavioral change, and also, I will continue, I put this plug earlier, it's up to all of us to continue to think about our actions if we are driving a vehicle to reduce our speed, and to just share that with individuals. We talked today, yes, the Dash 7 days. I saw a lot of people liking that, and also the car share program that we discussed today. So I think there is movement. I saw something the other day on LinkedIn about a national organization, well-regarded, and they were going to focus on celebrating spatial change. And I thought that was really an interesting perspective to say, like, how can we have things change so quickly? And this being my 5th year, there has been so many things that have changed, and also things that feel like they're not happening fast enough. So thanks for coming. I also want to say thank you. Yes, I didn't know there was, Storm Jerry, but it was a thing. I had the chance I want to say thank you to Mr. James Hurt and everyone in Public Works. I got to go on a snowplow finally. I didn't get to go in my first year because it didn't really snow in 2020, and then there was this other thing that happened. And so I barely could get in there, but I did. And I was on the West Side, gentlemen. So I got to go around in the West Side and see the work that individuals do. And I think sometimes we only make comments when things don't happen or things didn't work out. But I just want to say thank you for making the time during a very busy time that you all had, James, and to Scott, who took me around, and we counted cars that had their headlights off and people who were stuck. And I think it was just a really good experience. So I appreciate that. And then, I'll look forward to the process of adding a new commissioner. I'm sure Commissioner Perdue has some comments. I really appreciate colleagues around the table, us getting together quickly to be able to say what is the best process for the time frame that we have. And I'll look forward to that process and serving on the appointments under Commissioner Perdue's leadership. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. I think my colleague summed up my sentiment pretty well tonight too, but just wanted to also thank you all for coming out and expressing support for all things multi-mobility. I'm a huge fan of just the idea of walkable neighborhoods, community built in that manner too. So obviously I think we have work to do. I had the opportunity to go to Europe for the first time last fall and see what a lot of their cities look like in their downtown areas and their bike infrastructure. And so it's certainly inspiring to see what can happen when that's made a priority for people to utilize. So I'm excited to see our city continue to make investments in this area. And I know I mentioned a couple weeks back at our legislative priority meeting as well that I'd like to see us continue just to aggressively look for funding at the state and federal level when it comes to these types of projects as well. So just good to see you all, and have a good night.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing. So a few things that I want to comment on before we close. The first is I heard quite a bit today about the concept of thinking long-term, and I appreciate, and I was actually given a little pin by a local business. That's one of their values, and one that they said that they saw in me. And I thought about that a lot tonight as I heard your comments. And My commitment is to think long-term around these decisions, around infrastructure, around investments in our neighborhood, investments in our business district, our downtown. And so I want to thank you for kind of making that connection tonight. And there were also some comments that kind of relate to some things that we heard at the end of last year. And just want to reiterate my commitment, if there's enough interest on this body, to make a public statement about what is happening in our world and our concerns around global violence, injustice, and the like. So I want to confirm my commitment there. Secondly, when I was running my campaign and as I've sat here for the last year, I really take a holistic approach to public safety, right? And so that means a lot of what we heard today. It means safety and transportation. It also means, as Commissioner Knight referred to, today's Public Safety Committee meeting this afternoon, where we heard about the prevalence of overdoses happening and death by overdoses in our community. And when I say a holistic approach to public safety, I'm thinking about both of these items as being threats to our safety and well-being as a community. When there are reports of shots fired or there's a major crime incident that requires PD involvement, we're typically alerted that something is happening, right? And I would like for us, especially as I heard so many specific examples of people being hurt and killed as pedestrians or on bikes, I think that might be a good, that we should be alerted when things like that happen too, to make sure that is forefront as we think about public safety in our city and awareness for us as elected officials. So I want to just share and restate my commitment to making that holistic approach to public safety and the role of transportation in that. Thirdly, a lot of you mentioned a lot of plans that the city leads and other entities outside of us. And so I want to thank city staff for creating engagement processes, and I want to thank you all for showing up and participating in those engagement processes. I know that they're not perfect. I've heard very recently some feedback around decisions being near final while we engage in public discussions. And so just want to encourage us to be really clear when we go to the public and we go to community and we ask for feedback and we ask for engagement, to be clear about where we are in the decision-making process and how we plan to use that feedback. So I think what you all are talking about is really key to get really early so that we can incorporate it in our plans and our investments for years and years to come. So want to thank you for engaging in those processes and push us to go further in thinking about how we engage community and being really clear about our decision-making processes and where we're at when we do engage the public. To kind of shift course a little bit, I heard tonight, like we hear every time we come together, is people's pain, people's stories, and how that inspires a lot of us to take action. That was a big part of my story, my pain, but also my hope and my faith of something better that led me to lead in many areas of my life, but certainly here in this body. And so I just want to say I see you, I hear you, and I am inspired when I see people put it all out there in an effort to connect and in an effort to say, let's use this fuel, let's use this passion, let's use our lived experience, let's use our pain as well as our hope and our faith to make something better and to make something better together. So I want to thank you and I acknowledge you for that and say that I see you, I feel you, I hear you, and I'm committed and I'm here with you. And then finally, kind of in that same vein of using our pain and our power to get involved and to make change. We do have a vacancy in the 3rd Ward. And so earlier today, we outlined our appointments process. If you are interested, if you hear the call to serve and you feel compelled to serve, I encourage you to take a look, to consider applying, to see what it takes to talk to me. I'll make myself available to you to tell you about my experience, particularly just finishing up my first year. And there's an application available online. I think it opens today and it closes February 1st or 2nd, just make you first, thank you, by 5 p.m. So we'll route that through appointments and then they'll go to the full commission, and I am very excited to fill that seat and to have a colleague back in the 3rd Ward to represent and serve this community. And I think those are all of my comments for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. City Clerk?
I'll take that segue. So yes, it is it is right in the header of the website at grandrapidsmi.gov, accepting applications for city commission appointment. If you have further questions about details and process, you can reach out to the clerk's office. I've directed 311 to direct calls directly to my extension if there's questions on that. So hopefully you won't get routed around. You'll come right to me, and so we can have those discussions on what that process will look like. But the application is there. If you do not have ability to print off a packet or whatever, we'll have them in the clerk's office as well. And of course, you come down to the clerk's office for city business, we'll validate your parking as well. As a political junkie and someone who watches politics, it's New Hampshire Day today. And so as we've been sitting here, the polls closed in New Hampshire, and as we look forward to South Carolina next, and us at the end of the month on February 27, or starting February 17, early voting starts. And absentee ballots were picked up yesterday, so you'll be starting to see absentee ballots probably in the mail tomorrow or Thursday. So look for those coming. And there may be some questions of saying, well, there's candidates that have dropped out, and those candidates are still on the ballot because the ballots have been printed weeks ago. So so that's the reason why you'll see some candidates on there. And just a reminder, because this is a closed / kind of open presidential primary, you'll only be asked to ask if you want a Republican or Democratic ballot if you want to vote for this election. Doesn't register for the party. It's just a presidential preference form. And then just a reminder, for those that live in the Kentwood Public School area, if you live in that district, they do have a millage vote. And so if you do not want to vote in the Republican or Democratic primaries, there is a third ballot option just for that millage vote. So we don't want to preclude anybody that does not adhere to either of those parties to be able to vote on that millage question. And once again, if you have questions, you can reach out 311 or check out more information on the website. So that's it for me.
And City Clerk, because I didn't outline the ways that the public can engage in our appointments process to fill the third ward vacancy, might you fill that in?
Sure. So as we go through this process, there will be times at our regular meetings over the next few weeks or over the next month or so, but especially on that February 20th and March 5th, obviously there'll be the public comment times, either, especially if an appointment is on the agenda, so there'll be the time for the public comment during the agenda or at any of the general public comment times. But just like any other time you want to engage with the city commission or the city, you can reach out by email, by phone, by contacting your commissioners. That is definitely a way to engage as well. So these meetings aren't the only sacred time to engage with us or the people on this dais or other city staff. So please reach out other ways. And any of those public comments to the city commission, as you've seen during public communications and correspondence, will get shared with the commission and the public as well.
Thank you. Thanks, City Clerk. City Attorney? City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for those who've come out tonight and all the city staff. I do want to express my appreciation for those who were part of the emergency preparedness in response to the recent weather from the city manager's office, the Office of Emergency Management, Fire Department, Police Department, our communications office, the public works drivers that you've heard about, our mobile GR and traffic safety staff, as well as our community development department. So really appreciate those employees as well as all employees who continue to provide a service to our community. I want to also, I'm really excited to hear all the enthusiasm about continuing to become a bikeable city. And I know Josh Naramore is really smiling wherever he is now in terms of our former mobile GR director, and really encouraging the staff to continue to move the plan forward. But as I listened to someone reflected upon the other community I was in prior to coming here, and there are just people are in different phases of utilization of bike infrastructure. But you have to have the infrastructure there for people to make choices, whether it's dedicated or protected bike lane. And you have a small amount of the community that are just hardcore. They're going to bike no matter what the infrastructure is, just really dedicated, very small, less than 5%. And you have another portion of the community that, they're enthused, but they're confident and they'll use it. But you have this other group that's on the fence, that they will take advantage of it if the infrastructure is there and if it's safe. And I think it varies in certain cities what that percentage is. It may be 30-40% here. And then you have another group that no matter what we put in place, they may just choose not to bike at all. And it's all resident choice, but I think it's our job to make sure that we have the type of infrastructure in place where everyone can have multi-mode of choice to navigate around our city. In addition, and you certainly have my commitment to continue to accelerate that. But today we also heard of the car share program, and I'm excited about that being kicked off in each ward with 2 vehicles, and appreciate Mobile GR bringing that forward, as well as Mobility Development, our partner, in doing that. And also the briefing we had earlier today with our partners from the Central Needs Task Force, giving us an update on their efforts to continue to help us make sure that there are several food system options in the countywide food systems assessment, so that was helpful. And I would like to close with acknowledgement. I was able to participate in a lot of celebration of the annual birthday celebration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., from the Urban League breakfast to several other community events that continued despite the weather. And it's interesting, in the same month that we celebrate his life and what he's done to advance equality and civil rights, that his youngest son, recently passed away. And so it is a bittersweet month for the King family, our nation, and our community.
Thank you, City Manager. Well, I'll share a few final comments. I'll try not to be redundant because a lot of good comments were made by my colleagues that I echo. Just a couple of things. I sat here listening to all of you talk about bike lanes, and it took me back down memory road when I was very first elected. We had, this is when I was elected as commissioner, our city had less than 5 miles of bike lanes, and today we have over 100. And I remember being a part of the very first bike summit that happened here in Grand Rapids at Grand Valley, and the start of West Michigan Bicycle Coalition, and working on the Bicycle Action Plan. And we have indeed made progress, at least while I've sat around this table, with the same goals that you all have, right? We want people to be safe, whether they're walking or biking in this community. And we want to make sure that people are able to make that choice because it's safe. So as I said, I think we've made progress. I know we've made progress. I've seen it. Many of you in this room have been advocating for change for years, and I appreciate all your work. But clearly we have more work to do. I want to make sure that you know that even though I'm really proud of the work that we've done, I know we have more work to do. I'm excited about the work we're doing with the Greenway and the non-motorized trail and the connection points that we're going to see all throughout this county, not just downtown. I have gotten on my bike and I've biked a lot of the areas, and I know where we have struggles and challenges and where we need to do more work. And I know that we have more work to do together. So thank you for your continued advocacy and coming and joining us to try to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get there as quickly as possible. I hope it doesn't take another 15 years to get to where we need to go. And so thank you for that. I'm sad that Nalisha left. A lot of work has been done in our community, especially over the last several months. And as we entered the winter season, both with city staff, Connie Bohach, appreciate your leadership on this. Also our partners at the county and our nonprofit housing providers. been working really hard to identify ways that we can fill the gaps in this community and make sure that people, especially in the winter, but I say this, we need to do this all year long, people have a safe place to go at night and not be sleeping outside. So I was glad to be a part of the opening of Dégagé, their complex project. It'll serve individuals who are at really high risk, who have been chronically unsheltered for a very long time. So that opened up. The county's working actively on getting the crisis stabilization unit open. That will be at Trinity. There's some good work happening right now as we try to get some additional permanent supportive housing and transitional housing open for individuals, again, who've been chronically unhoused. So even though we don't talk about it on this table every single time we get together, many of us are in meetings every single week trying to figure this out as a community. We know it's a need, and it's like most things. It's a whole lot more complex than we realize, and there's not just one simple answer to almost anything. And then I'll just end by, again, thanking Chief and our partners at the RED Project for all the work that they do to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help individuals who may be struggling with addiction or overdose. The work that we've done to make sure that naloxone and Narcan are available in this community, it's saving lives, and it's saving lives every single day. And I really appreciate the work going into that. And then I'll just end. James Hurt, you're amazing. You've been here for decades. Really appreciate you, your entire team, everyone in our emergency operating center who comes in when everybody else is off, and you work 24/7 and you give up time with family and holidays to make sure that we're doing everything we can to respond to severe weather events. You've done it a lot, unfortunately, because of climate change and the climate crisis. We're experiencing a whole lot more of them as our cities all over this country, and it's our public employees who are out there responding to try to make sure that people are safe. So thank you for your work. Thank you to your entire team and all of our city staff who work so hard to serve our community. So with that, we will adjourn. Have a good night. Please be safe.